Jan 6 co-conspirator defendants in the insurrection are acting out again because they think their fearless leader is going to give them a pardon. That may be, but that hasn't stopped federal judges like Amy Berman Jackson, Tanya Chutkan, Amit Mehta, Dabney Friedrich, and the rest for having to deal with these yahoos and these unpatriotic insurrectionists and give them sentences or send them to prison from now until January 20th. As one of the judges, Royce Lampert, said, who was appointed by Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump's got his job to do. If he wants to pardon him, that's up to him. I got my job to do as a federal judge. So sit down or take off your belt. You're going with the federal marshals now to prison. You know, things like that. I break it all down for you to explain what's going on in the courtrooms all around the DC courts handling up until Jan 20th, all of these Jan 6 insurrectionists on Popok Live. Take a listen. All right, we're back. Let me go back and hit a question that was almost like stump the Popok there for a minute. What about that $100 million suit that Donald Trump filed about Mar-a-Lago to get compensated for everything? I'd forgotten about that one. That was an administrative claim under the Federal Torts Act. That's still pending. It has to go through an administrative claim. You can't sue the government without its permission. You have to go through a certain process. Maybe when the government is in the hands of Donald Trump's people, but I think he's going to be hard-pressed to continue to prosecute that claim, especially when he's arguing, on the other hand, he can't be bothered. It will impair and impede the office of the presidency. It's very hard to use it as a sword and a shield. Don't go after me, but I'll go after you. I mean, I think he may try. And again, he'll have people like Alina Habba whispering in his ear. I saw another question that popped up about, what about, I knew this just shows you how steep the audience is, along with me, in some of the nerdiest aspects of this, because I got it by just this reference. What about that person that shot her father? I was like, okay, I got that. I could do that one. Yeah, I like my Surgeon General nominees who didn't accidentally kill their fathers. I mean, call me crazy. I get it. She was 13. The gun was loaded. It fell off a shelf and shot her father in the head. I would probably give her a lot more credit as a personal story if this Surgeon General candidate, who's been on the Fox News as a celebrity doctor, had been honest with the American people in the way she wrote her memoir. Instead, she wrote her memoir something like this. When I was 13, my father died in a horrible accident, spurting blood, and I was powerless to do anything. And that's why I went into medicine. And that's the last time she mentions it in her memoir. Now, it's one thing to say, well, she was 13. I was like, yeah, but she was 30 when she wrote the memoir. So here's what she should have written. One day when I went to my father's closet, or the closet in his bedroom, to go get a tape measure or whatever she was looking for, a fishing tackle box fell, a gun fell to the floor, a bullet flew out and hit my father in the head. It was an accident. I didn't do it. But from there, I became a doctor. I mean, I would at least give that person a lot more credit than trying to hoodwink the American people, especially when you want to be the top doc in America. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure it's going to come up during the confirmation hearing one way or another. Let me get back now to the last couple of topics here. Particularly, let me talk about Harmeet Dhillon for a minute. Now, for those that want to go scramble and look it up, I've got a little bit of a history with Harmeet Dhillon. I mean, from a legal professional standpoint. Harmeet Dhillon represented Marjorie Taylor Greene. You may famously or infamously remember we had a case, Midas Touch had a case that we talked about, in which we went after Marjorie Taylor Greene because she was using her private quote unquote personal Twitter. See how long ago this was? I get to call it Twitter again, to go after people. And she was using her official, rep Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever it was, to do sort of benign things. But she did all the dirty work over here. And we argued, no, we got blocked. Midas Touch got blocked. And we were like, you can't block us from the public square. She said, oh, it's my private account. Well, no, it's not your private account because you're not operating it that way. And we filed a lawsuit. And she was represented by Harmeet Dhillon. And we won. Okay, so, but I know Harmeet also, in case people scramble, she was co-counsel with me in a case where we sued on behalf of agents who placed PPP loans. They were the ones that got the loans together, the package together, and they were supposed to get paid a commission, and they never got paid. The big banks screwed the little agents and didn't pay them. We represented the little agents against the big banks, and she was part of the team that did it with me. So I sort of know her. Now, let me just tell you, she's terrible for civil rights. how else to put this. She's a chairperson. She was on the committee for the Republican National Committee. She tried to get the chair position that Lara Trump got. She got beat. But she's always been a MAGA darling. She's represented Tucker Carlson. She's represented a couple of other right-wing organizations and people. She represented. Let me just get my list right here before I move on too far during my live. Let's see. She represented Marjorie Taylor Greene, Project Veritas, and Tucker Carlson, among other things. She has very strong positions, which I think fair-minded people would interpret as being kind of COVID denying, anti-transgender people, anti-abortion, against and trying to undermine voting rights. She's against mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, and anything that Donald Trump doesn't like in terms of ballots. And yet, this is interesting. She is also a member, and I'm not outing her, she talks about it. She's a member of the Sikh community, and she gave a Sikh prayer during the MAGA Trump Republican National Convention and got booed and got attacked as being unpatriotic. And I'm thinking, God, if anybody didn't have a signal that maybe you're in the wrong party, it would be Harmeet. But she's so hard line on these other positions that to have her as head of the Civil Rights Division would be the equivalent of, I don't know, Jeff Clark, Rudy Giuliani. I could think of barely worse, Sidney Powell. These are the types of people. So between the combination of Pam Bondi, this out for retribution, lock her up, a former attorney general for Florida, combined with Harmeet Dhillon and Todd Blanche, who represented Donald Trump as the big three in the Department of Justice, supported maybe by, heaven help us, Kash Patel as FBI director. It's so bad that I've seen MAGA newspapers, including ones controlled by Rupert Murdoch, beg Donald Trump in writing not to weaponize the Department of Justice or the FBI. And that's what's going to happen. Everything that the Civil Rights Division holds dear. Now, look, Merrick Garland got a lot of deserved crap, in criticism for how he handled the Department of Justice. His owlish ways, his methodical, analysis paralysis, couldn't get out of his own way, delayed everything by a year, didn't, assign the wrong people to prosecute. The only thing that came out of it people are going to remember is Donald Trump went free and Hunter Biden got convicted, all under Merrick Garland. But his department, the Department of Justice and its Civil Rights Division, did a lot of good things during the last 4 years that you'll never see in the next 4 years. Going after police departments for police brutality, where they have systemic discrimination against certain communities in their cities. Voting rights protection, abortion rights protection. Forget it. It's all done. The Civil Rights Division is going to be just like a stuffed bird, put it on the shelf. It's not going to do a darn thing, and it's going to be the opposite. It's going to go after, election officials and voting rights officials. It's going to tear down the Voting Rights Act even further. It's not going to find that there's any violation with gerrymandering maps in any attempt to disenfranchise Black or brown people in America. They'll have blinders on. Justice won't be blind, but this Civil Rights Division will certainly be blind to the injuries and civil rights violations of Americans. And that's just the way it is. And what we can do about it is make sure she goes through the grist mill of the confirmation hearing. She's going to have to go through the Senate Judiciary Committee, and the Democrats on there are going to have to grill the crap out of Harmeet Dhillon. And they got plenty of fodder. She's very public. She goes on Fox all the time. She's written a lot. She set up like an institute. She's been lining up to get this job for a long, long time. She's been dying to be the Attorney General or this case, the Civil Rights Division head for ever, for 20 years. And now she got it as a reward for always supporting Donald Trump and MAGA. So we got to keep an eye on Harmeet Dhillon. Then lastly, let me end the show with this birthright citizenship. First of all, I hate the phrase. We have citizenship by birth, right? Which we're not the only ones. Canada and Mexico have it too. It's a North American principle, as opposed to citizenship by blood. Citizenship by blood countries, a lot of Europe does this. It's the nationality of your parents defines your nationality. We don't have that. Canada, Mexico, United States, and our founders and our framers put it in there, and it's in the 14th Amendment. It says if you're born here, you're a U.S. citizen, regardless of who your parents are, regardless of whether they're documented or not. I mean, it doesn't say all that, but that's what it says. But to MAGA and their attacks on immigration and the undocumented and the disenfranchised, what they hear is anchor baby. Oh, it's an anchor baby. People are coming here from other countries in birth tourism, and they're trying to, and undocumented, they're trying to cross the border just in time to drop the baby. I mean, this is Trump's way of thinking. If you think I'm kidding, you should hear his interview with Kristen Welker over the weekend. Now, I don't know if it's because he lived in Florida for all these years and he's just not there, but he misinterpreted and got all tied up with two different concepts. Because he said, what we don't want is people coming here and the baby crossing over into American territory and putting their foot on American soil. I don't think he understands how infants work or newborns or toddlers. Okay. So in his view, the baby puts their foot on American soil and poof, they're Americans no matter where they're born. Wrong. What he's thinking of, I think, is that there was a policy that's now been rescinded, that if a Cuban, and it was really Cubans, if Cubans put one foot on dry soil of America, right, they were allowed to stay while their immigration status was being resolved, right? It was called wet foot, dry foot. Dry foot, you made it to land, you stay. We'll work out your documents later. Wet foot, you never made it, all those cases like that, that's it. That was only given to the Cuban community. It was not given in a terrible, terrible civil rights violation and an inhumane way to the Haitian community, who needed it a lot more. But because the Cuban community is more powerful in Miami than the Haitian community, they got that and the Haitians didn't. But that's what he's confusing. Babies, I don't know when the last time he saw one, babies don't walk or crawl over a line to make them American. If they're born in America, they are Americans, regardless of whether their parents are or not. And the reason they want to attack birthright citizenship, which I just call good old-fashioned 14th Amendment, which I've been learning since I was a child, is because they want to use it as the basis of their inhumane, undignified immigration policy, right? It's a way to separate families. And the way that Donald Trump and Tom Homan, who's going to be the border czar, the way they reconcile it is, we're not going to separate families. We're going to deport everybody, including the American citizen. That's the part that gets lost in the dialogue. Donald Trump wants to deport American children. That's what the headline should read in corporate media, but it doesn't. Because that would definitely, if you had that in a poll, I'll probably put a poll up in Legal AF on the community section. I'm going to put a poll up. Should American babies, American citizen children, be deported to countries they never came from, right? So that's their solution. Put them all in cages first, and then ship them all out and have them fight their way back. I've seen other articles that have said, oh, the easiest way to solve the immigration problem is to end temporary protective status, TPS, which is how the Haitians ended up in Springfield, Ohio. Do you know why we have TPS and other forms of amnesty? It's because these people will be killed or die in their countries. And we are supposed to be bigger hearted, more humane, a country where, and I see it every day. I take a ferry to work. I literally see the Statue of Liberty every day that I commute. I'm fortunate. I'm lucky, and I appreciate it. And sometimes when I'm really tired, I get a little teary-eyed when I see it. And I've been to Ellis Island, and my grandparents came through Ellis Island, all of them. And so we're supposed to be that country, not the country of round them up, deport them, put them in concentration camps. What did one of the leading senators say today? He said, undocumented, start packing. Or Stephen Miller at the Madison Square Garden event, America's for Americans. Who's he talking to? Who? The indigenous American Indians? The people that we took the country from? Them? It's just, I mean, and this is a failing, and I'm going to be fair here, as I try to be, without blowing smoke or sunshine. This is a failing of both parties for the last 50 years, to not have a dignified, appropriate immigration process, creating the crisis that we now have. We haven't even gotten to the part where Donald Trump tries to issue an executive order to invoke the Alien Enemies Act to deport people who are here as enemy combatants. We're not even there yet. But for Donald Trump to not understand basic civics, basics of the Constitution, despite being the president now twice, that he thinks by executive order he can rescind somebody's citizenship. Think about that. That's who just got elected president of the United States. So the quicker we energize, we lean forward, not back. We focus on his executive orders. We get the lawsuits are already drafted. I assure you, there are dozens of lawsuits already drafted. I've seen some of them that are ready for just fill in the names and the blanks to be filed. We know what his playbook is because Donald Trump got elected on Project 2025. Just read the 800 pages. You will see exactly the lawsuits you need to file. And they will be filed. We need to tie him up and tie him down. For those that love literature, think of Gulliver's Travels and think of the Lilliputians tying down Donald Trump one pin at a time, one lawsuit at a time. We got to tie him up and tie him down from now until the midterms. And then we got to take back our country, at the midterms. And that's where the energy, focus, enthusiasm needs to be. Forget the fatigue. Everyone's like, I don't have it in me. I can't do it again. I can't save democracy again. You got no choice. You got no choice. And the good part is that now that the social scientists and election experts have had a chance to look through the data, it wasn't a red wave. It wasn't the magnification of America. It was the economy and a couple of social issues that pushed some people over the edge. It was mainly the economy. It was the economy in 1992 with Bill Clinton. It was the economy now. It's just that we had so much going on with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and so little time that we couldn't really address it. And they did it. Let's be frank. I love Joe Biden. Kamala too. They were terrible salespeople for their own success. Terrible. We did it. We did it on the Midas Touch Network. We'll continue to do it. But the scorecard that they should have been carrying around a cutout scorecard everywhere of all the successes, domestic and foreign. We're seeing the current foreign policy successes now in the Middle East. You think these things are happening because Donald Trump got elected? They're not. Okay. And so with that, it was the economy, which means as we can focus on selling our brand better and our values better, it bodes well to swing the pendulum back. It's not forevermore. This is still the country that elected Barack Obama twice, that elected Joe Biden. Okay, I know that we get Trump 1 and Trump 2, but we're not that country, and we can get our country back being together, linking arms, shoulder to shoulder. Welcome back, but join me on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for a live rendition of Popok Live. Yep. I sit at the intersection of law and politics so you don't have to. And as you know, I don't blow smoke or sunshine. I'm just here to tell you the truth from my own perspective with commentary and analysis like no other I think you can find on YouTube. So there, Legal AF on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We have our full-length podcast, Legal AF, and of course the Legal AF channel, the YouTube channel. Help us build that pro-democracy channel without outside investors in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, one subscriber at a time. Hit that blue button. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.